Good morning, it's Tutorial Tuesday, and I am in Illustrator. I learned a neat new way to handle image trace that I wanted to show since we've been talking about image trace. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go into my photos on my iPhone, and I'm going to grab a photo of a little ink drawing that I did and just send it over via AirDrop. It should show up in the upper right in a second. There it is. Open. All right, so we're gonna trace this guy. It's kind of rough in places. It's got some like brushy lines, and it's a little dark. And I just want to see how it goes. So, iPhone's native format is HEIC. It's basically like a special kind of JPEG that, and so when you open it up in Preview, just go File, Export, and export it as a JPEG. I'm going to, let's see, call it Owl Ink October 2021. All right, and then we don't need preview anymore. So now I'm going to go over to Photoshop. This is an artboard that's just 800 by 800 square pixels, and I'm going to go File, Place, and then just grab that owl and place. The thumbnail comes up like that. I'm just going to drag it out like this. Okay. Now, so what I learned is there is in fact an image trace palette, but you need to get to it by going to Window, Workspace, Tracing, and that'll make that pop up. So you select the image that you just placed and set Preview up, and it's going to give you a warning about tracing kind of taking a long time because this image is large. You can reduce the size. It says, note, to reduce the image size, rasterize to a lower resolution using Object, Rasterize. If I were to do that, I would go up here and go Object, Rasterize. Where is it? There it is. Rasterize. And then it gives you the option to kind of make it screen size and make it a little bit smaller and all of that stuff. I'm not going to do that because, as we have previously discussed, I have rather a lot of memory and it won't take super long. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that with Preview. And I'm going to say OK. And this is just the preview. This actually came out really clean. So that makes it a little bit difficult for me to show you some of the options. So there's this slider in the palette called Threshold. If I slide that down, let's see how much of it disappears. I get a little bit more of that brushy quality. Even more so if I drag it even further down. I'm losing a little bit of definition in the face on the sort of facing away side of the face. So if I drag it to more, let's see what happens. That's where I start getting some of the noise of the paper back in. So I want to drag that around until that just disappears. Well, that looks pretty good. And it's showing you some information about what you're tracing. It says there are 279 paths. It's got 5,764 anchor points and 2 colors. So this is the thing that I really like about doing image trace from this instead of the context menu, is this black and white color grayscale, as opposed to those presets in the context menu that we talked about last week, where it shows you like 3 colors and black and white logo and that sort of thing. This seems to give me the control that I really wanted. Let's look at a couple of other things. So this is now custom. This is where I would create a preset. I wonder if I have the ability to save this preset. I would like to. That would be great. Let's twirl down Advanced. Number of paths shows more corners or fewer corners. Noise. Method is abutting or overlapping. I like abutting. And the reason that I like to... So the difference between abutting paths versus stacked overlapping paths is that if I set this to overlapping paths, then any closed white shape in here would be sitting on top of the black shape, so I could move it around. But I don't want that. I would rather have them be abutting paths, so that means that like all you see is what you get. So that means that like this black shape that makes up the eye here has a big hole in it. And that's what I prefer. It says create fills or strokes. I want it to create fills, snap curves to lines. I'm going to click ignore white, because I think that that is going to mean that yeah, ignore white. Come back. I like that. Cool. Good. Yeah, I think that's great. Because I think what ignore white means is that I'm not going to have to do the other thing. Let me take that off preview and hit trace. I think we're done. View tracing result. Click expand. You get your paths. Oh, and then I don't even have to do the thing where I delete all that white. I can just ignore it. This is a much better method. I have to say, I found this method because Adobe has been, there's actually one little thing in there, so I'm going to ungroup this whole thing and get that one little bit of noise that I missed out of there. So now I have, this is great. I am, I don't know what I'm going to use this for. This was actually an Inktober drawing from a couple of years ago. I think what I do want to do though is select all of it and then just give it a little bit of a tip. Just give her a little bit, just so that the plumb line is kind of straighter between head and foot. Yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna leave that exactly as it is. So yeah, Adobe actually released this tutorial. If you go to Adobe's website, you can go ahead and use my link. I'll put it in the description for this post. It'll set a cookie for you, so they'll follow you around the internet. But like, if you go to Adobe's website and they will start remarketing you. And the way that they remarket you is exactly the way that I'm doing it. They send you tutorials. And the reason that I found out about the Trace workspace is because they sent a tutorial about it. Somebody had a better method than the one that I was using. So I wanted to check it out, and I absolutely like it better. This is how I'm going to start handling my image trace from now on. So I wanted to show you that for a couple of reasons. First being that, like, A, I think the method is better, and I think you should use this one. And B, like, just because you learn one workflow doesn't mean you're locked into it forever. If you find something that is actually better, that will actually improve your workflow, then, you know, go ahead and learn it new. They're making improvements to this software all the time. And, you know, my training is at this point 20 years old. My formal training in Adobe is 20 years old. It's completely different software from the one that I learned when I was in college. And so you know, the improvements that they're making to the software means that the workflows are different. And if I stay locked in, that means I don't get to take advantage of all of this wonderful development that they've done. So I was really excited to get this tutorial. And so I wanted to share it with you guys. So yeah, so there's your Tutorial Tuesday, sort of a correction. I wouldn't even call it a correction. One of them is a little bit sort of down and dirty. This one allows you to handle this with a little bit more finesse, but this is a clean line drawing. Ooh, I just moved that whole piece around. I might group this whole thing back together so I don't do that again. So I did that by Command G, so now I can just grab any part of it and move the whole guy. So yeah, so that is that's your Tutorial Tuesday for this October 12th. I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know if you have any questions.